furniture manufacturer and kind of set the context for what we're doing here. So VS is nearly 125-year-old furniture manufacturer, rooted and founded in education. So that entire time of existence, we have been focused on learning environments, and quite specifically K-12 environments, as well as extending into higher education. In 2003, we came over to the US and founded VS America, and have grown exponentially in this market. I do want to tell you a little bit about the history, and this will be really brief because we have a lot of content to cover, and I think we only have an hour, but I think it's just important to tell you where we came from. And it really, I think a great place to start with that is Maria Montessori. At the time, VS was the sole manufacturer for Maria in all of her schools. But really, she was an incredibly integral part of our history because she herself was an expert in understanding that space, the environment, the elements within that environment greatly impact the user experience, and quite specifically, greatly impact teaching and learning. And it's really that methodology that set VS on a wholly different trajectory of really being very purposeful, very intentional with our furniture designs to ensure that they are intentionally impacting and aiding teaching and learning. Since then, we have worked with various experts in various fields. I won't get this one wrong, Dieter. Remember when I said 40 years, you were like, it has now been 40 years that we've worked together for. Remember that?
20 years.
It was 20 years.
You doubled it, okay.
Yeah. So since then, we've worked with various experts, including Dr. Dieter Breithecker, who we're going to hear from in just a moment. And we've worked with Dr. Breithecker for the past 20 years, give or take, and really understanding the human physiology. So he's going to tell us about that and give us real scientific context for who we're dealing with, the users, our bodies, and how this space supports us. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Dieter, and then we'll kind of get into the context of the project, the furniture, and all of that.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Don't get shocked. I'm from Germany and I have a German accent, and sometimes I'm fishing for words. Let's tell you something about my background. I'm a physiologist and I'm the president of this Federal Institute on the Development of Posture and Motion. That doesn't really sound sexy, but we have to be named like that because we are a subdivision of the German government of health. And the German government of health owns a lot of federal institutes. And each institute is dealing with different topics. And our topic is, basically in the recent years, how can we design spaces, workspaces, learning spaces, that those spaces are matching humans' requirements. And the basic requirement of every human is move. Not sitting still the entire time. Carry out regular movement. Because regular movement, this is science, is responsible for the balance of body, mind, and soul, for your well-being, for your productivity, for learning outcomes. We'll talk about that later on. First of all, I show you two pictures, two photos, how I work. Basically, I'm not sitting very much. You can see in my office there is a kind of mini trampoline. It's a special indoor trampoline. You can see the swings are different. They are not noisy. And it's not the idea to jump on that mini trampoline. It's more or less exactly like you show. It's bouncing. It's just carrying out an activity which is really in balance with your actual, let's say, doing. And when you're carrying out a phone call, of course, sometimes you know, a phone call can be very emotional or a phone call can be very relaxed. So So it really is more or less in balance with what you are doing. And you can see I work at a standing desk on wheels. I can move it everywhere, and I have something like a high chair. So, but I'm sitting not very often on that high chair. I'm using it that the chair supports a variety of posture changes. And I told you I'm a researcher, and of course I do know, due to a lot of research, that this behavior is important for my entire health. And I can tell you I'm 69 now, and I think when you watch me, I'm in good shape. And I do know, due to my research, that such a behavior is important because, now I hope this switching is working. The clicker is working.
Here we go.
Oh, go. No, not so much, not so many. Okay, because we have ancestors or ancestors, which means people like you can see here watching this illustration around about 5,000 years ago. They had no comfortable chairs, they had no screens, but they had to be busy the entire day. And those who were living in caves, you can see, it's like indoor spaces today, they were busy, they had to carry out a variety of challenges, and they also carried out a variety of posture changes. They were sitting on a stone, kneeling, lying, standing, whatever. They had to do this because it was important to maintain comfort, not stress. The next posture is always the best posture for your health. And when they had been out of the cave, they had been on their feet around about 10 up to 50 miles on average a day, which means their life had been stimulated by an active environment and by interacting with a challenging environment. And what is important is that their behavior and the adapting to the challenging environment has been responsible that only those behaviors and genes have been transferred to the next generation, which has been the best for health and well-being. And we as humans today, we carry out the heritage of evolution, which means when a child is born today, the child has the best biological functions for their entire life. But a child, in the moment when a child is born, has to be interactive with a challenging environment. And therefore, for example, in office spaces, due to the acknowledgement, they have changed the working environment because they heard about all those research that you should integrate activity into your daily working time. And due to that, because the boss wants that the staff is productive, they have more or less arrangements which you can rearrange, and it is more based on standing or perching. It's not sitting in the chair the entire day, because sitting in a chair the entire day means rigid behavior, and the rigid behavior is not matching humans' requirements. Everyone, I think you will underline that, is always heading for health and well-being. But this is not really something which you can expect. You have to work for that. And basically, it's always a situation where we are in balance concerning risk factors and health supporting factors. I will give you one example. sitting on this chair you are sitting on, this is basically a risk factor. Why? Because I told you before, a rigid chair is not matching humans' requirements, and due to that, after a certain time, you will fall in the body and mind fatigue. Although this light in here, the darkness, is unhealthy, a risk factor, because we are used to daylight and we are not used to artificial light. So, when you are always exposed to risk factors, then of course you're really heading into a lot of chronic diseases. Therefore, you also should invest in so-called protecting factors, because protecting factors are good for healthy outcomes. So, the recommendation, for example, would be, okay, when you are using that chair for a while, which is rigid, then you should use for another situation a chair which is not rigid, which enables you to carry out activity while you are seated, because this is an activity which is matching humans' requirements, which means the next posture is always the best one. And you carry out those behaviors more or less in a smart, self-organized way. It's more or less mindless, because our system has been trained for millions of years. And the self-healing, self-organization of a smart system always will help you as a protecting factor concerning your health. And this is basically what is more or less our main duty, to recognize where are unhealthy situations and risk factors, and also invest in protecting factors that you stay in balance. Because when you are in balance, then your body, mind and soul interrelationship is in balance. If you're out of balance, then you're really heading for a lot of chronic diseases. Not from one day to the other. It's basically a creeping process. And environment and behavior matters concerning risk or protecting situations. No, your brain is the complexest organ we do have. And the brain basically is a processing machine, which means the brain processes a lot of informations which are around us. And for that, click, click, click. Yeah, the distance is maybe. Can you make a click up there? Okay, not too much. One back, one back, one back.
It's on a lag.
Okay, one back, one click back. Okay. Watch this cow, for example.
I went one ahead.
Okay, thank you. Watch this cow. I took this picture when I've been in the Dolomites. And what do you think? Is this cow fitting well?
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely!
A happy cow?
Not only yes, absolutely! And what do you think? What is the reason for that?
Oh, fresh air.
Fresh air,
Vegetation.
good acoustic, good food, natural food, moving, no stress. And believe me, this cow is standing for every living system. And therefore, well-being is basing on natural environmental stimulations. And here you can see we have a bunch of sensors. The well-known are your eyes, your ears, your nose, your skin, and your mouth. And I told you, a stress factor in this space is not only the rigid chair, it is also the artificial light, no daylight. And therefore, when you expose your sensory system with natural stimulations, of course, then you cannot stop well-being. You cannot stop well-being. Protecting factors. But now we are getting in contact to. Can you do another click, please? Only one. Okay, perfect. Back. Okay. Believe me. Now you can see there are also other sensors which are in our body. It's a sensory system which is located in our body. Like sensors, you have pinions on them which are in your muscles, and sensors which are in the inner part of your ears. And if you stand up, please, I will bring you in contact with them. So, please have one foot next to each other. Okay, stand relaxed. And now close your eyes for some seconds. Just for some seconds, and focus what your body is doing. Just focus what your body is doing. Okay, thank you. You can open your eyes, and I have a question. Did you have the feeling standing absolutely still?
Yeah, I felt a little bit wild.
Yeah, exactly. You felt, no, you were not standing still. No, exactly. You felt a bit of shifting. Okay, who felt that? Perfect. But what has been responsible that you noticed that your body is shifting?
When we close our eyes.
Yeah, of course, when you closed your eyes, you have been more focused. What has been responsible?
You
To be
relaxed.
stiff. You were relaxed.
You relaxed? No. Again. Therefore, we are doing this lesson. Lady, what is the color of my hairs? White. Perfect. What told her is the color of my hair? First of all, the sensor, the eyes. And due to the eyes, those information out of the environment have been heading to the conscious part of the brain, because it was a question. She had to give me an adequate answer, and in that moment she said, why? So, the sensors are informing your brain. And do this again. Stand relaxed, one leg next to the other, close your eyes, and again you will shift, you will notice that your body is shifting. Thank you. Open your eyes. And in that moment, of course, not your eyes have been responsible. Those sensors in your body, in your muscular system, in your inner parts of your ears, they told you that you were shifting. Of course, now you're not focusing on that, and when you don't focus on that, it's not in the conscious part of the brain. It is filtered, because our brain would be over-challenged, and the brain would have to deal with all those informations due to all our sensory organs. We'll have round about 11 billion sensory stimulations per second. And therefore the brain has to filter, and only those are heading to the conscious part of the brain, which are responsible for adequate reactions. The rest is filtered, particularly in your emotional system, but has an 100% impact on the balance of body, mind and soul. So even if you don't notice that the body is shifting, this has a positive impact on your protecting factors. It has a positive impact on your health. Now please sit down. Lean back. Relax. Close your eyes again. And focus what your body is telling you. You can open your eyes. Thank you. Now my question again to you. Compare that to the situation when you were standing. Did you feel the same what you felt when you were standing?
No.
Absolutely not. Because now you are sitting in a rigid chair, and when you are rigid, you have no balance situation, you have no muscle activity, and due to that, those sensors are more or less out of order. And when those sensors are out of order, that will be having a negative impact for the balance of body, mind and soul. Not after 3, 4, 5 minutes, but concerning adults after approximately 20 minutes. Now you can understand stimulating our sensors with natural stimulations like daylight, good acoustic, fresh air, etc. And you cannot stop well-being. But also it is important that you can carry out motion like the cow can do, or every living system can do when there are no restrictions. But if those sensors are not stimulated in a natural way, then it has the same effect like this picture is showing you. It is a non-natural and non-adequate behavior which is ending in an unhealthy, stressy condition. And I don't want to have the milk from that cow. Believe me, because the stress is in the milk. Or if you have different animals, also male animals, the stress is in the meat. Therefore, I would prefer the milk of that cow. And I would prefer people who have the chance that every sensor is stimulated in a natural way. Now you can compare that to human beings where they are exposed. This is a non-natural environment and a non-natural behavior. In comparison to this, this is a friendly environment, daylight, etc., and an physical behavior, which is stimulating those sensors, and the other sensors are also stimulated in a natural way. Our first lesson, and this is what basically will happen in that research. We want to bring students out of the sitting trap. I think every one of you got in touch with such a headline. Sitting is the new smoking. Sitting is killing us. Sitting is making us stupid. Headlines of special magazines. Researchers won't name it like that. We are talking about a sedentary, inactive behavior. So, using chairs which are rigid, plastic chairs, school chairs, okay? I explained to you, when the environment, the chair is rigid, you will be rigid. After a certain time, you will fall in a body and mind fatigue. It's stress for the body. And therefore, we want to have more activity when students are sitting. Can you come down here?
Ooh, I've always wanted to get on one.
And you will sit, for example, on that stool. Okay, perfect, perfect. Can you feel the difference?
Yeah.
What is the difference in your opinion?
I've been noticing for 4 weeks that my hip, like my piriformis hurts. And I
Yeah.
wonder if it's from sitting.
Yeah.
It
Sitting,
kind of feels actually good to rock forward and put my feet flat.
you can carry out what I mentioned before, a mindless, intuitive behavior supporting your system to be self-organized in a way that the system is always heading for comfort and well-being, where there are no restrictions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you push the over?
Nice.
Sure.
And here we have a similar one. We have a similar one. We have a chair with a backrest. This is a stool. This is based on the same concept. It's not rigid. It is
Got a little bit of movement.
moving in every direction. It's a so-called 3D mechanical function which enables that you can carry out movement in every direction. We'll come to that later on. So, the problem we do have is, you can read it here from the scientific point, from 2016, adolescents are spending more than 75% of their waking time in a sitting behavior. British chairs. That means 12 hours. 12 hours a day. And researchers tell us don't sit more than 6 hours a day. Otherwise, you will have a lot of health issues, not from one day to the other, because it's a creeping process, therefore it's called sitting is the new smoking. When you start smoking today, you won't have lung cancer in 3 months, but you will have a good chance to have lung cancer in 20, 30 years. It lasts a long time until mismatching behavior will end in chronic diseases. But today we also have students below 13 which are in touch with diabetes 2 already, or colon cancer, due to mismatched behavior for a long period. And the next shocking information is that children which are born today have a less life expectancy of 5 years on average in comparison to their parents. So, what we have to know is that we have a muscular system, and we neglect that muscular system. The muscular system is the biggest metabolic system. When muscles are carrying out contraction, then of course there is a higher release of biochemical reactions which are decisive for the balance of body, mind and soul. And when your muscles are contracting, you will have a higher blood flow and an increase of oxygen, where oxygen is needed. So the muscular system are decisive for a lot of molecular messengers which are more or less responsible for the balance of body, mind and soul. I will give you one example. Please stand up again. Getting out of the sitting frame. Have one hand on your muscles and the other hand on top of your head. Here we are doing circles and here we are doing a smooth sitting. Now please lift one leg up to you, which one? And bring the leg into the rhythm of your hands.
Which hand?
Now change hands, no legs. Again, a little bit faster. And change hands, no legs. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I noticed something. What did you notice? What did you notice?
When I switched, I got confused.
Yeah, you noticed it's a difficult exercise, a multi-coordinated exercise, and you have to coordinate a lot of legs and hands. So I noticed something different. I noticed that every one of you has been laughing. Which means before that exercise, you were exposed to, again, some stress factors. Your brain, your face was like that, and after that your face was like that. Which means now again protecting factors, because you carried out muscular contraction in a high challenge, and due to that, hormones like serotonin, dopamine have been released, and you have been in a different mood. But also other proteins have been released, which are responsible for your nerve cell activity. So your muscular system is not only a system which keeps you upright and is responsible to move from one to B. The muscular system, in particular, those sensors in your muscles, we were talking about them, which have a direct connection to a nerve cell, will stimulate your nerve cell activity and your synaptic switching. So, as it is called, neurons that fire together will wire together. The more muscles are integrated, the more of those sensors are stimulated, and the more nerve cells will be active and switch together.
Dr. Dia, you have a question back there.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, consistent with that idea is, so sitting still rigidly is bad. You then indicated sitting but with motion is better. Is it also true that therefore standing is better? And for example, and everyone knows where I'm going with this because I have a treadmill desk in my office, standing with motion would be even better. So is it a sort of a continuum supportive of that notion that as you're making all your muscles and moving and firing together, it's better?
Exactly. The more muscles are integrated, the more of those positive biochemical releases will happen. And of course, the more sensors will be stimulated, the more nerve cells will be stimulated. And therefore, I did this high coordinative exercise because this is more than 1/3 of your muscular system. One leg, for example, is 1/3 of your muscular system. If you have a treadmill, that's perfect. You're a walker. And basically, due to the heritage of evolution, we are walkers. We're not runners.
Right.
You shouldn't go for a marathon. You don't need to go for a gym for heavy weighting. No, basically, weightlifting. It is important, moderate physical activity, but integrate that into your daily routine. No more than 20 minutes inactivity. And therefore, you basically can recommend when you use a chair, then you should use a chair which is in common with your natural requirements when you are more or less fixed on something you're sitting on. So this is not rigid, this is really something where you also carry out some important muscular activities and reactions, but the best of course is stand up, and not only standing at a point, also move. So the recommendation is basically 50% active sitting, 30% standing, and 20% moving around. And you can see here, and please click on that video. Okay? You can see students, and they are doing what the teacher asked them to do. Some work at the table, and please click it again. And you can see that due to those stools, they carry out a mindless activity. Basically, you can really bring it to the point. When your brain needs to do a hard job, then the brain needs, of course, nourishment. And what is nourishment for the brain? Of course, oxygen. When you are active, blood flow is increasing, oxygen supply is increasing as well. And another important food for the brain is proteins and hormones, because proteins and hormones are decisive for nerve cell growth and nerve cell switching. You can see that as a scheme. When a child is born, the child has round about, let's say, 100 billion nerve cells, and in the next developing years, nerve cells are switching to each other and are getting stronger. The same you can see when you have it is basically how humans require, due to their individual necessities, a different quantity of motion. And due to that, basically, we should have an environment where humans can carry out their individual necessities, because humans are different. It's the same when you watch this. This is an office environment. The arrangement is active sitting and standing.
We want a bouncy chair.
This is having the same effect like
Where do we
gymnastics.
sign up for that?
And then of course, when there is something different to do, it is arranged, this guy is standing, and you can see he has organized everything in a way that the body is never in a rigid behavior for a longer time. And this is what basically is also our main impact in that study. We have two classrooms, where the classrooms more or less are equipped that the students are not sitting for a longer time, even when they have active chairs. They have to stand, they have to move around.
And those are at the academy right now, or are they at the college?
They're gonna be put into the academy.
They're coming in December.
December,
Yeah.
okay.
The two classrooms which have no rigid chair. So even when the students maybe are missing something because they are used to sit rigid, and maybe the first moment they maybe find it's not very comfortable to sit on something which is not rigid, but after a certain time they are getting used to it and they will feel better. The environment is decisive how you behave. When you have a rigid environment, you will behave rigid. If you have a so-called enriched, physical enriched environment, you carry out more activity. This is, again, it is the heritage of evolution. The environment where our ancestors has been exposed to really forced them to be active. They also had a chance to rest, but to survive, they had to be active, no way out. You had a question?
Yeah, you know how they have those ball chairs? Is
Yeah.
that a form of active sitting as well, or no?
No.
Okay.
The ball by itself, yes, but the ball chairs, that's industry, bring that ball, and the benefit of the ball that the pelvis is in a permanent free flow is limited by the frame. The only option you can have is to bound a bit.
Oh, it doesn't give you,
But I will
do you
explain
mean like,
later
because
how-
they have like a housing sort of frame that you
It has
can.
a
Yeah,
ball
that's
nest.
what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So-
That's
Small
what I
nest,
use, and mine
yeah.
has wheels in it, so I move in all directions.
Okay, we can pass this very quickly, because
Yeah.
we already talked about that. Okay, so the second important aspect is make peace. This thing is make peace with fidgeting. This is basically what particular elementary school children are doing, because they have this high requirement of movement due to the very sensitive and critical period of developmental process in the first 11, 12 years. And the recommendation is that I already noticed 50% active sitting, 30% standing, and 20% moving around. You also can say 30% moving around, 20% standing, but please not more than 50% of your daily working or lesson time in school. You should sit, and when you sit on an active chair. So passive sitting is making you sick and stupid, okay? What's behind stupid? There's also a headline, as the research found out that static inactive sitting for a prolonged time is responsible for brain lesions, which means that in your brain the quantity of nerve cells will decline. You also can say it's killing nerve cells. Because, again, static sitting is a mismatch, it is stress. And when you release the hormone cortisol, the stress hormone, then this hormone is responsible that particularly in your hippocampus, nerve cells will be killed or will die. The hippocampus is this part of our brain which is responsible for memorizing and learning. Although not from one day to the other, but the early beginning is already in childhood. And due to that, the amount of people facing dementia is increasing. The World Health Organization is predicting that in 2050, the amount of people having dementia will triple. And they will get in contact to those neurocognitive disorders early.
Is it too late for all of us?
I can do a
Never too
test.
late.
Yeah, basically,
Today's
Is it the stand-up test? from the
Dement-
ground?
I mean, yeah, we can do a test for that. Please stand up.
Oh, Lord. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Apologies.
But you're very young. So the scientists which are looking forward to see, okay, how we can detect dementia before it is really harming our life, they found out that there is a test. And the test you can do with around about 55, 60. So you stand on one leg, and then you have to count from 20 to 30. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 29, 30. Thank you. When you have done this without getting very nervous, fighting concerning the disbalance you are exposed to, then you have a low risk in the next 10 years getting in touch with dementia when you are around about 55. But if you really would carry out such a hectic reaction due to the challenge of balance, then you would have a high risk getting in contact with dementia. And the best thing basically is you should carry out a preventive lifestyle, which means healthy food, plant-based food, healthy sleep, around about 7-8 hours, relaxing sleep, and movement is so important. They found out that people who carry out around about daily movement integrated in the daily routine, that will lower the risk of dementia of 40%, and also nutrition 40%. Social contacts, never stop learning. So those are all the secrets behind preventive measurements, not to get in contact to dementia so early. Okay, I see the time is.
Do you all have to leave shortly? Yeah, you can go over to the com. Do you want to show them the rooms and talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, maybe 2 minutes. Again, because there have been some questions about sitting, standing, and moving. So everyone knows when we are standing, sitting never stands still. So when we are standing, we carry out this self-healing activity, this positive self-organization, that the pelvis is never in a rigid position. And exactly this we have to bring into a sitting position. Can you please push? Okay, that's too much. Okay, yeah. Okay, stop. And now you can see that we started around about 30 years ago using a gymnastic ball because there have been no chairs available or stools available. And this has been the step to get in contact to companies which are designing chairs which have the same effect, what you are seeing here, like the gymnastic ball. And here we did research. You can see here, this is a young lady doing the test for 40 minutes, and while she was doing the test, a lot of markers have been on her back, registering the muscle activity and registering the sway of the shoulders and the sway of the pelvis, which means she has been focused on the test, but while she was doing the test, she carried out a lot of micro and macro activities. And now I want you to watch a video. And when you see that video, you should watch students sitting on a chair with a flexible frame, and students sitting on that chair with a 3D mechanism which enables movement in every direction. Okay, start the video, please. Flexible frame, 3D mechanism, flexible frame. Those are sitting on the chair with the 3D mechanism. Okay, thank you. Which means you could have noticed when students are sitting on this chair, maybe there's a little bit of micro activity because this chair only flexes. This, and I'll be honest, is not enough to stimulate muscles in such a quantity that you have the benefit of those biochemical reactions which do have a benefit to your brain and to your well-being entirely. So when you are exposed, as you are seeing, to a chair with a 3D mechanism, you have all those options, that you can carry out this 3D behavior, what basically will happen when you are standing. And therefore, we only put into the classroom chairs which have the effect like when you are standing. When you are sitting, that an amount of muscles can be stimulated, that the benefit is better than being exposed to a flex or a rigid chair. This is better than a plastic rigid chair, but concerning our issues, we have to go for an active chair which enables 3D activity. Again, next one. Next. Okay, now we see when pedagogy is underlining that we are heading for a body-engaged learning, pedagogy is asking students to be more in a vertical, stand-up learning situation. For example, when you have those vertical writing options, or when you have standing desks, where students can carry out in a vertical standing position their intuitive mindless activities. And also the benefit is when you are in a vertical stand-up position, you reduce the pressure concerning your intestinal organs in your belly room. This is also the benefit of such a chair. When you want to recline, to recover, that your postural organs can recover, then you recline in a mindless way to open this angle, to get rid of the pressure of your intestinal organs, which basically you will have if the chair is rigid. Then you will have basically a slouch after a certain time, and then you increase the pressure on your intestinal organs in the belly room. So maybe we can show one more. The philosophers 2,000 years ago, for example, they had walking halls. The students of Aristotle have been called Breithecker, which means they had spaces where they were walking, and they were discussing while they were walking. And when they had tired legs, they were sitting on stairs or somewhere. One slide more, next, please. Okay, you can see again what's going on in the office now. When they have meetings in the office, they call it stand-up meetings, because they do know, due to the research, it is more efficient and shorter. Agile working. And this again, next, we want to have in the classrooms, we want to have more standing options. It's also better for your self-confidence, for your self-esteem when you are in an upright position, instead of being in a slouched position. Mr. Irving, which was a doctor of medicine here in the United States, he's still living. 15 years ago, he was using the word NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, because he found out 15 years ago, we had no idea what's going on in the brain because we had no research methods for the brain, but he found out when people are standing more in comparison to sitting, they expend 400, on average, 400 calories more a day. Amazing.
It's motivation, not to stand.
So,
This basically what you sometimes find, that there is a high chair next to a standing desk is basically stupid. Because you bring stupid sitting, and this is stupid sitting, what she's carrying out there, you bring stupid sitting on a higher level. But we also have some high chairs, but those high chairs also have the same effect, that when you have tired legs and when you want to be on eye level with the others, then some of them are also having the 3D effect. And this is again rigid, and you are in the back situation, you have no forward inclination, and you have to bend the trunk and the pressure on your. So we did best for your classrooms to carry out activity. So last, again, vertical learning and vertical writing phases. Okay, we can stop here. Time has passed, and basically I never stop talking. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, so that's Dr. Peter Breithecker's contact information. If you want to, we can send it to you, because there's no way that you're getting it off of that. Rosa, do you think you could put up the slide real quick? We just want to show you what we're going to be bringing in December. So we alluded to the fact that we're going to be doing this case study, and it's going to be a process of roughly, probably a few months that we're really measuring it, and there's going to be a series of different activities as part of that measurement, including some tracking of the physical activity of the students involved, to really be able to measure quite physically what is happening for them in their learning. But so we're outfitting rooms 306 and 322. Are the teachers that are in those rooms here?
They just left for class.
Oh,
It's an
too
English
bad.
teacher and a history teacher.
Okay, well, that's okay. We can send.
They've
have you sent
seen-
them
they've seen the
They've seen
diagram,
it, okay.
yeah.
So what we're really thinking about is positions, okay? So we're breaking away from 15 chairs, 15 desks. These are outfitted for about 15 students. And we're thinking about it as positions. So there's going to be opportunities to sit, there's going to be opportunities to stand with different types of seating. So we've got, as Dieter mentioned, really only active seats available. So we've got the hockeys, and we've got those chairs at stool height as well. And then we do have a couple of soft seating elements. Oh, how does this work? Back. How do we got that? Oh, okay, here we go. So here's your little soft seating elements. Those are the teal. The purple, everything that's purple is the hockeys, the wobble stools. And then everything that's gray is the swivel stools. So there's gonna be some chair versions and some stool versions. All of these square tables are standing height tables. And then, actually they're height adjustable because we had to, but that's okay, we wanna keep them at the standing height. And then the white one is right roll. So that one has that, it also tilts up, so it can be used as a whiteboard. We've got a round one like that in the classroom also that you're in, so plus it isn't on. We've got a height adjustable lectern that actually pairs with these desks. So these are all seated height desks. These are the desks actually. It's two shapes, and they work together like a pair. So you have your gray caps and black caps, and you wanna alternate, and that's how you get all your different configurations. You could do Socratic circle. Also, you could break them apart into individual desks or group work. You know, we could do L's. I have a whole configuration sheet of all the different configurations that you can do with them. Basically, it's really endless. Because of this curve, they can pair in endless possibilities. So it's not, you know, a fixed system of this is how it goes. And so the lectern also has the same degree curve, so it can get down to the student level and pair right up alongside with them and work as an extension of the student. I don't know if you knew that, Rosa, did you know that? Okay, there you go. So we also have these storage elements that are mobile, and those are gonna be bin storage, which are, on this little PowerPoint, I've got the little thumbnails of all the products, so you can see it, I'll share it afterwards. And then for the teacher, we've got some additional mobile storage there, a desk with, here it is, with a mobile box file. And we gave a hockey to the teacher too. But again, positions, right? So the teacher can grab a chair or whatever the teacher would like. It's really a shared set of tools and resources for the classroom. Oh, and then of course, the puzzle, which is the amoeba shaped table. That's a large group table, and a good number of students can actually work around that as well. Anything else you want to add? Do you guys have questions? So this is coming in December. We're still nailing down when, but middle of December, it'll likely be installed. And then we need to kind of work out the details of, you know, how we're gonna be tracking the students and really collecting that data. But I'm excited. It's a radical difference from your other classrooms, right? And so we really want the experience to be radically different.
Any questions?